Ooh, that looks tasty.
Our foolishness caused our world to be destroyed, and we are stranded on this new one. There is only one thing for us to do. In light of our past mistakes, we must now battle each other to the death to determine who can rule this new world.
Welcome, folks. The Hungry Gamer is back with another game review, and today we are talking about Mythalix from Sunrise Game Studio and Grand Gamers Guild, designed by Julian Gain and Kiri Kariskakis. And I do apologize if I mispronounced those names. Now, before I get started, please make sure you turn on your Klingon subtitles, because if I make any mistakes in the rules overview, that is where you will find those corrections. Now, what Mythalix is it is a game that takes place in this other world where on our world, the Greek gods have been kicked out, and they show up on this other world, and they are battling it out, trying to dominate the land. And this is going to be done through rolling dice and purchasing cards and a little bit of territory control. Now, if you are not interested in how this game is played and just want to jump into my final thoughts, then you want to go to the timestamp on the screen on the right. Now, for those of us still here, let's talk quickly about how this game is played. So what's going to happen is each player is going to start the game with one of the Greek gods. And these are just a couple of them here, but if you went to elementary school, middle school in the United States, then you certainly recognize some of these, or from Percy Jackson, or whatever it may be. So each person is going to be one of the gods, and what they're going to do is they're going to have their own player board, which I will show you in a bit, and then they will be purchasing new warriors that they will be able to place out on their board, and that's going to upgrade their combat abilities, or they'll be getting armies as well, which will do the same thing, but it's not quite as good. And again, I will show you that in just a minute. But what is going to wind up happening is, on each turn, you will go through a certain number of phases. You'll start out by getting any income that you're going to get for the turn, and you're going to be getting income by conquering different areas that have these thick borders on them. And when you conquer it, and again, I'll explain that in a minute, you'll get to put one of your strongholds out on there, which makes them a little bit harder for someone else to conquer, and then you'll get income at the beginning of each turn. And the income is going to come in the form of either these mythical cards, which each one tells you exactly what it is that it's going to do and when you can play it. Power cards, which are just like mythical cards, just as you can imagine, a bit stronger. Or just straight up gold, which is what you use to purchase these cards. Then after you get your income, you then get to spend your income, and you can buy any number of cards you can afford. Then you get to move your god somewhere onto the board within whatever your god's movement range is, and that'll make sense when we look at the player board, and then attack the territory that they are on. Now, that's what all these numbers all over the board are, is how hard it is to beat them. You have to beat that number on the roll of your dice. Now, your dice are pretty simple. You recognize these Dungeons & Dragons style dice, but you start the game with your gods. They just literally roll two 6-sided dice. You roll that. If you beat the number, in this case I have a 4, I'm on a 22, I did not do that, then you have won that territory, that battle. Every time you win a battle, you get a coin. And then depending on what is on the board, you will also get something else. These things here mean cards. So you win a battle here, you get a coin and a mythical card. Win a battle here, you get a coin and a power card. You can also attack another god. If you do that, and you beat them, you will be able to steal from them one of the elements. And this is how you win the game. The first one to get 4 elements will win, and you can choose if you're going to play that each person has to get one of each element or just 4. And then if the god is beaten, they have to go back to their spawning point or one of their strongholds, which are these little things here that I mentioned earlier, which are also related to the ones with these real thick borders. If you want to fight there, instead of claiming the reward, you can claim a stronghold. Strongholds will either give you cards at the beginning of each turn, or in the case of the ones over here, they're going to boost your god's stats. The last thing is, at the very bottom corner, at the very corners of the board, you have these spaces here. And these are where you can just go there And if you win the battle, you will gain one of the elements, which is, again, how you win the game. Last thing to talk about is the player board. And what we have here is we have a space for our god. And you'll notice on the god card there is a just ability that you just simply have for being that god. In this case, Hades. Anytime you're attacking another god, you get +3 attack. But otherwise, you start at a 0. All the gods start with 2 movement and a defense of 20. So that means if someone is attacking them, they have to beat a 20 naturally. But you're going to be able to increase those through these different armies that you're able to get. You'll see here, well, I have 2 of the same here, which is kind of silly. So I'll get rid of that and I'll put this one in instead. So between these two, I have +6 to my attack. So now I'm rolling 2d6 +6. However, if you get warriors, like I showed you earlier, here's Heracles and Perseus, what those are going to do is it allows you to change your dice. So now instead of rolling 2 6-sided dice, I would roll 2 8-sided dice. So in a combat, I am 2d8 +6, so I have a much easier chance of beating things like that. And then, of course, you go into combat, you'll be using those cards that I mentioned, and the cards will often be something like this that will allow you to boost your attack again. And hopefully you get the idea. And you're going to go back and forth until one player manages to get all 4 of the different elements and achieve the Mythalix. If you achieve the Mythalix, then you are the winner. And as I mentioned earlier, you have a choice. It can either be until you get 4 total or 4 of the different colors. That's actually all there is to this game. So, what do I like about this game? The first thing that I like is I like that it plays really fast. I mean, really fast. I had a couple people over and we played a 3-player game. With teaching the game, we were still done in like 35, 40 minutes. It is crazy fast, which is what I think makes the game work and will make the game work for some people, is because it's almost like a filler game with a little bit of heft to it. And what I mean by that is it's not just taking out some cards and tossing around. And now, also, I'm not someone who uses the term filler game as a pejorative like a lot of people do. I love filler games. And this one is one that is kind of a larger scale filler type game, which I do think is really cool. I think they've done something very cool with the components of the game, and for that I'm talking about these standees and the clear bases, so you're able to see all the way through them, so you can see what's underneath these really big honking acrylic standees. And also, the acrylic standees themselves are pretty darn cool. It is a less expensive way than having minis, and see if we're able to see those there. There we go. And they do look pretty darn cool on the table, so I do like that. I also like the same thing with the strongholds. As you take a stronghold, you put that clear acrylic token down on the table, and you can still see what's under it. It doesn't take away from the art of the board, and it just kind of adds on to whatever it is that you've taken as far as the defense value goes. I like that. I also like the speed with which you, for the most part, resolve combat. It's very simple. You have your turn, you move, you roll the dice. Did you beat the number? Good, done, move on. Maybe, and you'll have to add like 1 number to it. Or if you're playing a lot of cards and maybe a few numbers to it, it does resolve very quickly. I also really appreciate how the game forces conflict on you, unless you're playing a 2-player game. But if you're not playing a 2-player game, there's only 8 of those elements out there, which means, and there's only 2 of each type, which means that you can't just run away from everybody and pick up these elements. You're going to have to go and face the other players and fight them, which is really what makes this game work best, is you're trying to balance this idea of building up your army, building up your strength, until you can go fight and until you can win. And so I really do appreciate that. I also appreciate the way that one of the best ways to buff yourself is not just by getting the numbers added up, the roll 2 dice plus whatever, but it's you get these heroes that are going to change your dice. So you could be rolling 2 20-sided dice by the end of the game, which is a cool feeling to go out there and say, gosh, I got to get a 20, but that's okay because I got 2 20-sided dice, which is a very boom or bust, but it can be really exciting. The next thing is, overall, I think the art is pretty good on the cards and the gods and things, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about that towards the end of this. And so I like that as well. The game looks good on the table. Absolutely. It's bright, it's colorful, it's interesting, it grabs your eye. All of that I really do enjoy. So, what are my quibbles with the game? And I'm going to start out with some quibbles that I have with the production of the game. And the first one is something that I can't show you because it's a feel thing. But the quality of the cards, I don't like. I find them that they don't slide very easily, that they just have kind of an odd feel to them. And so this is a type of game that, for me, to keep it around, I would wind up having to sleeve those cards. I don't like the way they feel. They don't slide very well. Then the next thing I'm going to talk about is that art that I praised earlier. And while they have done a decent job of getting some diversity in there, some of the gods are diverse, which I really appreciate. A lot of the women look really cool. I think of the Athena in particular is just a really, really cool, a really cool standee and all of that. Again, as I say all the time, and before I say this, most of you already know what I'm going to say. Don't come at me in the comments saying I'm trying to ruin your fun. I'm not. If you like it, great. However, it has gone down the road, again, of taking characters and they are sexualized. So I'm going to show you this here. So this is the cover, and I'll get a little bit closer there. You can see, the stomach showing, lots of cleavage, all that. And you can make the argument that he's showing a lot of skin too. But there's that. And so, okay, that's the choice that they've made. Zeus is up there. He's got his shirt off, all that. Okay, maybe you can argue that's fine. But when you get into the game, it is this. And as you can see, she's wearing the armor, different look, and it is not sexualized. So they made the choice in the cards not to do it, but not on the cover of the box. And that I don't like. We all know I don't like that. I just don't think it's necessary. Then moving on, I said some of the women are just really cool looking, just as cool looking as Ares and all of that. But then some of the others, I find them sexualized. And now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, well, Aphrodite, that makes sense. And yes, it does. Sure, fair enough. If Aphrodite is scantily clad, I will buy it. That is a trope through history, the goddess of love, though you could argue that, that's lust, not love, whatever. I'll buy that. But here's the thing. That is not Aphrodite. That is Hestia, the goddess of the home. I literally teach kids mythology, and I did not know who the goddess of the home was. And so the choice is to have that be her art. Anyhow, I'm not going to belabor it any more than that, other than to say this is another example where I think the mark has been missed. They have it half really well done, and the other half is just stuck in what I think is the past, and it's not my favorite. Now, moving past that, and again, please don't come down in the comments and tell me I'm trying to ruin your fun. If you like it, wonderful, enjoy it. I'm not judging you, but it's not for me. Now, the next thing that I'm going to that I want to talk about is the game is highly random. Highly, highly random. As you're going through and you're drawing out your armies, you might get a common card, you might get an epic elite card, and you just don't know. Which could be the difference between a +1 or +2 on your roll to a +5. And when you're trying to hit numbers that are 5, 10, 15, 20, that is a huge, huge difference. And the same thing when you're drawing the warriors. You might get an upgrade to a D8, or you might get an upgrade to a D20. And they all cost the same, so it's completely, completely random. And it even tells you on there this is a common card, this is a rare card. So it's akin to, in some ways, opening up your Magic booster pack or whatever and just playing with whatever it is that you have. And I know people do that. But it is very random. Same thing with the power cards and the mythical cards. It's very random what it is you're going to get. You might get something that just cancels somebody's card. You might get something that just automatically lets you win a fight. You might get the thing that lets you activate your god's unique uber power. You just don't know what you're going to get. Now, that may be good or bad for you. And I think it's mitigated by the fact that the game is so fast. You go out there, you get some stuff, you draw, you roll some dice, you boom, and you're done. But it can feel frustrating, because I know when we played the last time, one of the people we played with, the first two things he drew were the epic Kickstarter exclusive cards. Well, meanwhile, the other two of us, Streamline Matt and me, we were drawing common, and we had no chance against him. So that might be something that you don't like. And that'll bring me up to my last kind of two-part quibble, and that is with the god powers. I wish they were just felt more special. They are things like gain +1 to all your attack rolls, or if you're defending one of your strongholds, get +3 or whatever it may be. I just wish they were a little bit more exciting. And along with that, I wish that that you did not have to rely on the power cards to be able to activate your Uber ability. Maybe do it once every 3 turns or once per game or whatever it is. That would be so much more interesting because you just might not get those power cards. And if you're not one of the people that has a stronghold that's giving you power cards every single turn, you just might not ever be able to use it, and that might feel disappointing to you. So there you have it, folks. That is Mythalix. For all my griping, we did have fun when we played this game. I think the fact that it plays so quickly and it's just so kind of get out there, chuck some dice. There is a space for that in a lot of people's collections, and you might love that. This game is quintessential Amera style game. Chuck some dice, throw some things, have some chaos, boom, wham, bam, smash together, and you're done. And if that sounds exciting to you, and you are looking for something that you can just throw out and can just jump right into and play quick, then this is certainly an option for you. So there you have it, folks. That is Mythalix. As always, if I made any errors in the rules overview, please let me know in the comments with a timestamp. I'll get that into the Klingon subtitles. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.